not even gonna put the title up yet, but I'm gonna play some. I'm gonna play a couple different videos, and then well, hold on. Let me change the title of this. I ain't even put the title on this mug.
That's my
Hold
dog.
on. Hold on. Let me put the title of this. I'll put the title up in a minute. So let me play this video, and then I want to get y'all thoughts. All right.
I have heard about a whole lot of hate that's being directed at our trans community. Anybody who is using this as an opportunity to villainize our trans community or any other community out there has lost their sense of common humanity. We should not be operating out of a place of hate for anyone. We should be operating from a place of love for our kids. Kids died today. This needs to be about them. This needs to be wrapping our arms around these families with every bit of love that we can possibly show.
So I'm gonna stop it there, and then I'm gonna pivot for a second over to a different one. And this is associated with the whole Minneapolis shooting thing, because again, the person obviously was identified as trans.
Minneapolis Democratic Mayor Jacob Fry also facing backlash after critics say he rushed to politicize the attack and feel he showed more sympathy toward transgender people than the Catholic community.
Don't just say this is about thoughts and prayers right now. These kids were literally praying. I have heard about a whole lot of hate that's being directed at our trans community. Anybody who is using this as an opportunity to villainize our trans community or any other community out there has lost their sense of common humanity.
He ran down to the church today and promptly, surprisingly, shockingly attacked people for praying. I couldn't believe it when I heard it. People of faith turn to prayer in times of tragedy, and to decry their prayers, to belittle their faith, to angrily attack those whose faith fortifies them in their own lives, especially on days like today. I just don't know what to say to Mayor Fry. Perhaps, sir, you're trying too hard to please a political base. My advice, offered humbly, is to shut up for a few hours and try not to offend anyone else as they grieve and recover from this tragic moment.
Turning Point founder Charlie Kirk wrote, anybody who is more concerned about the trans community after this tragedy than the Catholic community that just lost two little kids to this monster has lost their sense of common humanity. And now to a live look over the White House, where the U.S. flag is flying at half-staff this morning. President Trump, as a mark of respect for the victims of this senseless act of violence in Minneapolis, ordering the U.S. flag to be flown at half-staff at the White House and all public buildings throughout D.C. until sunset this Sunday.
So let me add a little bit more context before I get y'all opinions and y'all perspectives on this. Again, the shooter wound up being a person that was in their 20s. He was born Robert, changed his name was legally changed by his mother into Robin. His mother also at some point worked for the church/school, worked there, didn't necessarily attend, but worked for the church/slash school that the trans person shot up all of these children through the window at. And again, the Minneapolis mayor is defending the trans community and saying anybody that is critical of this person because they were trans, he's not having it. And then Tim Walz obviously was in the background supporting it. So what do y'all think about the whole situation? I see DZ is in the chat and says trans has got nothing to do with it. What do y'all think about the Minneapolis mayor defending the community of trans people, considering that 2 children was killed, 16 people was shot, 3 adults over 80 years old?
I think the whole LGBTQ LMNOP community, I think they're dangerous. I think that you like walking around looking like somebody, but you somebody else, and you can get beat up, man. Like if you got a strong jawline, I'm not talking to you. I don't give a fuck what you are. This is one chick at the gas station. I'm like, she kind of cute, but her jawline is real strong, so I'm kind of scared, nigga. And then like gay people, I just think like it's a demon and you refuse to rebuke said demon. Like you're succumbing to like the devil. And like I don't subscribe to you like dudes and I was born this way. Nah, nigga, that's a demon and somebody need to pray that shit up out of you, nigga. Is what it is. But
Q Diddy came to pod today, apparently, Coach Diddy. I think it's the shirt.
that nigga said it's the shirt.
Coach Diddy is podding tonight. All right, we got it.
So
anybody else?
I guess regardless of what I think about the whole trans community people, I don't understand how that became an issue so quickly after the actual shooting. Like, who is he even talking about? Who made such a big deal that fast that needed to even be stated in his conversation?
Let me add some additional context, right? When this first happened, they were reserving the identity of the shooter. Okay. They wouldn't release it, they wouldn't say it, it wasn't a thing. Usually they put it up immediately and they put up the, you know what I'm saying, whatever is this person, or they identify this person. They kept saying, you know, and the person took their life. They didn't want to put it up. They waited a long time after the press conference, after they did the initial press conference, to eventually put up the name of the person. And they never said that, they never broke down none of that stuff. So I think that that's another thing that kind of outraged people, is that they wanted to know the identity and the profile like they do everybody else that is a shooter or whatever, especially with this being such an egregious crime. And it's almost like they intentionally tried to hold that back.
Yeah, well, I think, given what you're saying, but given the fact that that was his focus, I don't know. That, and then, like, we don't need you to pray, and I don't know. That does lead me to believe that his focus was more on, how should I say this for whatever the reason, whoever I'm trying to appease, whatever agenda, I don't know. Like, he didn't seem like a mayor who right now is like, listen, this just happened, this is what I'm focused on, period. He didn't come across like that at all. So yeah.
Slimmy, any thoughts?
Yeah, I got plenty because I did a little bit more research. So it was another shooting that took place. I don't know if it was the day after or if it was yesterday. I don't know exactly when. It was another shooting that took place in Minneapolis. And so what's happening because of the uh the threats that he put on the weapons and what he was saying on there, it was like uh anti black, F people who are anti-black, or I don't know. He had a lot of messages on those weapons, and one of them was uh anti-Jewish. So even though those weapons were, even though that said that was anti-Jewish, another one of those weapons said sponsored by BlackRock. So now they're going to implement a whole thing, whereas they are searching for anything that has information that could be detrimental throughout the whole United States with with anything of this sort. So they're going to somewhat be browsing through anybody's all of our information now. This is like a triggering thing, and it's very unfortunate because a lot of people's privacy will be invaded. And anything you type that they feel like could be criminal activity, they'll come and arrest you. It hasn't fully been, I guess, made into a law or anything like that, but it's coming down the pipe.
They already do that.
Well, not well, they're going to be using AI technology. It's called Gideon. They're going to be using AI technology called Gideon to do this. And I'm not gonna speak on too much more than that because it's pretty it's pretty sad. But overall, I don't understand what the mayor was doing. I think we living in some very crazy times where we literally had to sit here and watch everybody want to bash black people because of what happened in Cincinnati without context. Everybody was just like, oh, these people are animals. These people are fucked up. And rightfully so, without context. Rightfully so. Then when you get the backstory, you find out that, the Russians was really kind of like, they was really going around starting fights, and it ended up being a big melee because they were pretty much drunk. What happened to the woman, completely unacceptable. I'm not condoning any of that shit. But we had to really sit here and see people bash black folks. But then when we got this trans person who just blatantly opened fire on a Catholic school and killed children, we're protecting them. We don't want to talk about it. We don't want to, like, first off, the first thing you should be addressing is the fact that kids died. That's it. You damn sure shouldn't be protecting nobody. Nobody. Children lost their lives, and the first thing that comes out your mouth is, oh, I don't want anybody doing anything against these type of people. What? So it just goes to show, like what the dude said in the video, politics is way too prevalent. Like when we put in politics over our morality, we are in dangerous times. That mayor, I mean, statements like that should have you removed. Because how do you not have any sympathy for children, but you're going to say, oh, we got to protect a certain type of person? First off, this type of person has mental illness. That's the first thing. They have mental illness. They don't even accept themselves for who they are, but yet you want to protect them. I got a problem with that. We can't protect people that got mental illness. Most of them, people who have mental illness, they have to go to an insane asylum. That's where they have to go. They got to put on a fucking straitjacket. But yet, this group, because they align with the rainbow people, they get protection. I mean, I'm kind of fed up with the shit, bro. I'm going to be honest. I'm fed up. It's all this. I want to be this. I want to be that. And then we gotta step on eggshells on how we approach them and how we talk about them. Fuck that. Why aren't you addressing the whole shit as it is? This motherfucker is out of his mind. You pretty much just gave a whole type of person a pass. You gave these people a pass. Like, you didn't address it like, hey, we need to start cracking down on what we feel is going on with these trans people. We need to really start hunkering down and finding out if they got mental illness problems. That's the first thing that should have came out your mouth. Because we can't be losing kids. But instead, you chose to be political. We living in dangerous times. That shit is crazy to me.
I do think that he's also up for re-election. He's running against a Somalian dude.
Well, there you go.
So,
I agree with everybody else. I think it's a mental health issue, and they're just letting these people walk around like they're normal individuals, and they're clearly not. So I think they advocated for that madness. It's their problem to handle. I really think they need to nip it in the bud so it don't start spreading to other places because this ain't the first trans person who has shot up a Catholic school. So they just need to stop. People need to just be honest It's a mental health issue because if somebody was walking around anorexic or bulimic because they thought that they were obese, we would treat them like they were mentally ill. But yet, men pretending to be women and women pretending to be men is
Yeah.
normal.
Yeah, I think it's this is the part of politics that I hate. Trying to appeal to everybody, um, and making sure that you show the support for that particular community. Nobody asked him to say any of that whatsoever. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know who was in his ear, and I don't know if he got you know what I'm saying, a smart group of people that's around him that would help him make better decisions. But that could quite possibly be the dumbest thing that he said, especially in a political climate where people don't want. I think people don't want PC no more. They just want you to just be real and just be straight up. And they don't want to hear all of that pandering no more. He was pandering to me. And it's funny because in an era where people can use terms like black fatigue or Karen or all of this other stuff, he chose to defend this dumb behavior, and he chose to defend it in the at the worst situation, the worst possible outcome. Kids going to church, getting shot, old people getting shot and killed, and he decides that he wants to go publicly and make himself a target by saying some dumb stuff like that. That was so dumb to me. It's so stupid. If kids are getting shot while they're praying and he's talking about pray for the kids, or we need to be praying and not villainizing, man, get the hell out of here with that junk, bro. Honestly, it's so trash for me. But it is. I think it's an unfortunate situation because of all of the stuff that I've covered before, I haven't seen this type of it shows you how biased a lot of the news as far as the larger platforms. I don't see the type of coverage that's supposed to be covered on the CNNs and the MSNBCs on this, the way that they're supposed to be covering it. If Trump says, I don't know, I don't like this particular politician, then they're gonna cover it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but they won't cover none of this. It's wild to me. It's wild to me, but I don't know. I don't have much else to say about it because I did a review video on it that's probably going to drop in the middle of the night, but I don't have a lot to say about it, bro. I think that is a demonic situation. I think that to want to be something that you're not and to cut off your balls is a mental disorder. It just is what it is. To want to be something that, to be one, bro, if I came out and I said, I want to be a tiger, and I start getting tattoos of fucking stripes on my head and shit like that, people would say, yo, you crazy, bro.
Yeah, definitely.
Seriously.
They said that lady who tried to, she was acting like she was black. I forget what her name was years ago.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. The white lady.
Yeah.
That was
Rachel Dolezal.
Yeah, that's her. If I
Charleston,
tried to be anything other than what I am, if I said, oh, I'm a baby now, and I start wearing fucking diapers everywhere, and Depends, they would say, man, what's wrong with this nigga?
Now, Coach
You
Prime
got
running
some
up a
Depends?
bag with Depends.
But you know what?
That nigga is.
I started watching your interview with Charleston earlier today, and he
Yeah.
made a valid point that I didn't even consider. He said, you know, this whole trans thing is fairly new. Like, we don't really know what all these people who decided they're trans, what that's going to turn into 20, 30 years from now.
Yeah, he did say
So,
that. That just kind of went over everybody's head too on the low.
yeah. So,
It
I
means
don't know.
society is about to collapse because they've done it throughout history, and the society has always collapsed when they started gender bending.
No, I disagree. This shit ain't new.
No, it's
This
not
shit ain't
new.
new.
It's
This
been
shit ain't new.
happening.
I mean, it's been a
Roman
thing.
times they was doing it, and they
Yeah,
populations they
it's been a
collapsed.
thing. But the difference is, it was taboo.
Was it?
Mm-mm.
When
No, they
I
were
You got looked
say
practicing
at.
it's
it.
not,
No, you
when
got
I
looked at funny. You got looked at funny for doing for being like this publicly.
The Romans in particular, they love boys.
Mm-hmm.
They love young
Super
boys.
pedos.
Well,
If you look at the history of
but
the
isn't this
Roman,
the first time when it's been so accepted? Like, and that was another point Charleston made. Back in the day, if you were gay, like that was you had a mental illness. People
but
it was
we're ignoring other countries. We talking about here in America, right? That was a fairly newer thing in America based off of our cultural norms, right? When you look at former empires, and I'm talking about BC, after I'm sorry, yeah, BC or much earlier, even in biblical, all of that type of stuff. None of this behavior is ever taboo. It's just cyclical. Like if you look at the Roman Empire and you study them, they loved homosexuality. They loved young boys. If you look at African, like a lot of African history from different countries and all of this stuff, like if you go over to Ghana, well, not even Ghana, but like a lot of these, and I'm not saying that they like boys, but they liked young girls, and whenever they would get infected with a disease, and this is a fact, this isn't even my opinion, whenever they would get infected with a disease, they would try to get it out of them technically by messing with a young little underage girl. And so when you talk about the degeneracy when it comes to sexuality, none of this is new.
Yeah, but in the States, this shit was still taboo for a while.
Was it?
But
Yeah.
I think trans takes it to a whole nother level. Like, I don't even know where to play. Like, is that even sexual as much as mental? You know what I'm saying? Like, trans to me takes it to a whole nother level. It's one thing you just like somebody else who looks like you.
We're throwing a label on it though, Carrie. Think about it. Young guys. Okay, let's just use the Roman Empire, for example, right? Guys looking feminine like girls was something that a lot of them was attracted to.
Not looking feminine. I'm saying
acting feminine, looking feminine,
to the point where people are getting their body parts changed.
Well, we've just advanced the technology to the point to where some of that stuff is being implemented though, right?
But that's what I'm saying. The fact that we're at a point now where you can literally change to another gender to some degree.
Really can't though. You still
I mean, I know. I know for real, you can't. But I'm just saying the fact that you can do it as much as you can do it surgically, and it
over
is
to Thailand,
and
over
it is
to Thailand.
and it is being defended. To
Go over to Thailand.
We are in a crazy time.
Go over to Thailand. It's celebrated. It's normal.
But that's my point. That's my point. How long was that celebrated in Thailand?
It's been normalized for decades.
Well, decades, I think, is still considered fairly recent. Like,
true,
recent.
But that's just because you got to remember. I think we're ignoring the speed of information now, because we have the internet, because we have social media, because more people are talking about it. Is different. When soldiers used to go, it's almost like drugs, right? When soldiers used to go overseas or for different wars, whether you talk about the Vietnam War and all of that other type of stuff, all of that shit was already happening way before it hit American shores. The soldiers was the test subjects before they started to implement it over here inside of our culture and our communities and the hood and all of that stuff. The soldiers was the ones that they brought that shit from overseas. When they came home from the war, they was fucked up. That's the truth. When they came home from the war, they was fucked up. And so they brought all of that heroin shit and that lifestyle and stuff over from that shit. I largely believe that had we never had these wars, and some of the reasons why we decided to get involved in these wars was because of what we then adopted when it came to what our cultural norms are. You talk about these wars and all of this stuff. We didn't get a lot of the stuff we didn't get involved in until the residual effects of us participating in other cultures. We brought that shit over here after we start fucking with other people. That's just the truth. A lot of the drugs, whether you talk about, World War One, you talk about Nazi Germany and all of that stuff was test runs. They was testing all of that stuff, and it was an excuse for them to continue to do research and development to test it, which ultimately became, a lot of that stuff became social norms, and some of the same ingredients that we use in the stuff that we got coming on over here. When I think about going over to some of these other places, you realize that they don't really live like we live. And when all of this immigration coming to the United States of America, and I know I'm kind of going off of, derailed or whatever. When I seen the borders open, one of my biggest concerns is, man, they bringing all of that shit that they got going on over there, over here. When you go over to Minneapolis, that's not America. That is Somalia. That's not America. Their culture, their norm, how they pray, how they eat their food, everything is different. That's not us. That's not this. How they dress, how they talk, all of that shit that's not what I grew up to think what America was. And so you look at that, you look at some of these other environments and these cultures and stuff, man, they made the same way that what home looked like over here. And even if you look at the mayoral race over in Minneapolis, that white man that really is a white apologist, that is a super liberal, is going against a man that is a Somalian, and he basically is saying, yo, Minneapolis is Somalia now. So when I look at all of this stuff coming over here, I just think that people are bringing their own demonic stuff over here along with whatever their culture is. That lady boy shit, the fuck is that? That wasn't never regular. And all of a sudden it just exploded in the late 90s, early 2000s, 2010s, and everybody was just on some super alphabet community stuff. It's like, man, what is this shit? It just wasn't normal. That was never us. It was never supposed to be us. And when I see black people just became gay as fuck. Like we took this shit and we went all the way. That was not us. That was not a normal thing in the 90s and in the 2000s. That was not regular. It's like they took 1 to 2 decades and was like, all right, here y'all go. And then whenever they want to popularize some shit, they always use black people to do it, bro. Every single time they use black people to do it, bro. And we just went all the way to the left, bro. All the way. They started doing the shows. You couldn't turn on HGTV without some man putting his hand like this and designing your goddamn house. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on out here, bro? And my last straw for me, it's kind of weird. My last straw. I used to look when my daughter was younger. I used to look for shows that I could watch with my daughter because we would just like do this family night shit. Right. So we would always try to look for something that everybody could watch, that they wasn't pushing some agenda. And we was watching it was a TV series. It was called The Flash. It was like the modern version of The Flash. And it was like season 3 or some shit. And they brought the little black boy in, and he was like the reverse Flash or something, or like the alternative Flash. Man, that dude was so flamboyant.
Yeah, man.
He was so flamboyant. I was like, damn, I can't even watch The Flash.
Yeah, they fucked that show up. That shit was crazy, man. They killed all them characters off to do that stuff too.
And when you went to, I went to go research, I'm like, because I was always like, are they playing a role or is he playing himself? He was way more flamboyant in his regular life than he was on the show. I mean, he was like a fairy. Like, I was like, this is crazy. I just had to stop watching The Flash. Had to start watching some other shit, American Chopper, something else, like anything. But it was wild, bro. It was a wild situation.
But that's why I say I think that to my knowledge, this is the first time that all of this is just so, it's so accepted, it's so readily available, it's such an option. So let's say that there, back in the day, there might have been a woman going through something, and instead she had to work through her issues. I don't know, like she's having issues with men, and so she ends up having to work through her issues or whatever. Now you can easily just be like, you know what, I'm done with men.
Yeah.
I'm done with men. I don't have to. It's not me. It's them. I must really like women. I can just, or I could turn into a man. I could just easily turn it. And guess what? There's a whole community of people who will accept me. And so you're not working through whatever caused you to get to that point. It still exists, in my opinion, but you live, a bunch of good, great years because everybody's excited. But then what happens 10, 20, 30 years from now? Like, I watched the story of a guy who was a transgender, and he told a story of how it totally jacked his life or her life or whatever up. Like, you have a lot of them who made these decisions and later on
Regretted
they
it.
want. Yeah, so again, to Charleston's point, that's why I said his point to me was real interesting, because a lot of the people who we're seeing right now, they're not to the end of their life yet. They're not they're not in their 50s or 60s yet. They made these decisions maybe at 20 and 30, and it's good for right now, but what is it going to look like 10 years from now? Are you going to go through some mental crazy, especially if you start at 10 and now you're 20, and now you going through something in your head, and now you hate kids because these kids are loved on, their parents like them, their parents prayed them through their hard times, their parents helped them when they were unsure of their identity. My parents didn't. My mom let me turn my name from Linda to Larry, so bump these kids. And obviously I don't know if that was the situation, but I just feel like this is a breeding ground for stuff like that to happen.